Well, greetings and shalom. I'm Adrian Scott, and I welcome you to Truth and Testimony, the broadcast. It is time for some more shekels for your thoughts. Now, what got me wanting to do this video was I had a conversation with somebody just the other day, and it touched on a couple of topics. So what I'm kind of titling this video is fellowship and support. And that's really what this conversation that I had with this individual was. It was about this idea. So this is someone who has had a tumultuous journey in terms of a faith walk. We're kind of there, kind of not there, in again, out again, and has just struggled with it at times. And I think, like a lot of people, and I would even put myself in this category at times in my life. I've mentioned in the past this concept of one of the parables that Yeshua spoke when he talked about the types of soil and the word being seed, and it was scattered on these different types of soil. And the one that always frightened me the most was the soil where the seed landed. It took root, it sprouted, it was fruitful and sprouted. So it was embraced. Somebody saw that. They started their faith walk. They went down that road. They embraced it. They were happy. They were joyous. Everything was great. But then, as related in this parable with this particular soil, effectively the cares of the world came along and drowned it out, and the seed died because it just got overtaken by the things of this world. So it was this shallow soil, right? There wasn't enough depth to it to keep it healthy and vibrant. And I have struggled with that. That's a tough one to even admit, but I have, because it is so easy to get carried away and distracted by the things of this world and lose that focus on our Creator, on Yeshua. And it is, I'm sure a lot of people seeing this and people that aren't seeing this have had that same issue. It's a struggle. It is a struggle. I think, who was it that said that? I think it was it Yeshua himself who might have said that to Peter? I think it was Peter when he made the reference to, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. That's almost touches on that idea, right? There's a part of you that really wants to embrace it and go for it, but it's tough. It is hard. It is very difficult. And it is so easy to be distracted by the things of this world. And so you can just bounce around and you never quite take root. And it's something I've been concerned about. And I think that that's kind of in part, the journey that this person has sort of been on. And they really want to put their attention on God much better than they have, and just really do that. And they're like, I need help. Well, that's where this video comes in. Fellowship and support. Because that's exactly it. I can tell you from firsthand experience, the lone wolf thing, when you're a believer, does not work. It didn't work for any of the disciples. It doesn't work for us. If you read the scriptures, you'll see that Yeshua sends these guys out, usually in pairs, so they're not alone, to go and disciple and spread the message and do all the things they're going to do. But then what do? They come back together at the end of the week. They go there for their teaching and study in synagogue on Shabbat, and they recharge. They rejuvenate with each other, with that fellowship and support. It is critically important. And in this world, like, we find ourselves in an interesting dynamic, my wife and I, where we live now. We are Hebrew roots, Messianic, if that's what you want to call us. That's not where we started, but it's where we're at now. There really isn't any resources for us locally. There's one group, but there has been some issues, not really a fault of theirs. So, there's no blame being laid or anything. It just was not quite a good fit. And we tried. They're really nice people. Just talking to them outside of fellowship, there's no issues with them whatsoever. But it was not working for us. We'd been involved in a number of online groups. We had a group more regularly who we still communicate with back when we were on the mainland. And still very highly regard them. Great, great people. But now our option for dealing with them is online. And it's that case of life is just getting in there and taking us away from those things. We've really become insular on the Sabbath, on Shabbat, as a time out of necessity to really disconnect and unplug from everything because we were being so carried away by the things of this world. So it's an unfortunate thing. It's good for us in the fact that we're not tackling it alone. At least my wife and I are here together. Our daughter's involved with us. We have been communicating this and sharing it with Autumn and Abigail, with our two little girls. And they've been embracing it, which is great to see, and asking questions and learning more. That's fantastic. We've always been big advocates for learn everything, right? Don't just learn about our viewpoint, learn about everything. And when you get older, you'll need to make your own choice. But in the meantime, we're going to arm them with as much information as we can come up with and as they can accept, But that's all been happening here, and that's great. But there's still really a need for that fellowship, for that community of like-minded believers. And yes, you can kind of do it somewhat online, and there's live chat rooms as you're doing these things, and you can communicate with people real time. But it's just not the same as sitting in the same room and looking someone eye to eye and being able to communicate with them that way. And if you have a great moment to actually embrace them and offer a hug or a handshake or whatever it may be, you just can't do that online. So I don't want to discourage, if that's all that's available, to go online, because there's some great communities online. There really are. And there's a couple that we are involved with. But it doesn't replace that real life fellowship, community, and support that you get from those things. So in this conversation with this person, I really found myself reiterating that. It's like, it's an interesting one, because that faith walk is something that you need to do on your own. Nobody can walk with the Lord for you. You need to make that decision. You need to educate yourself on those things. You need to have that heart and that commitment to do that. Nobody can do it for you, right? But at the same time, in as much as it's a very, very personal thing that way, it really does require that fellowship and community, because I'll tell you, this world is spiraling down, and it is spiraling down fast. And all you need to do is turn on the news. All you need to do is walk out your front door and go for a walk down the street in town to see how deteriorated and how far from God the world on a whole is right now. And it can just suck the life out of you. Yeah, it's frightening how much it can do that. And I know when I first became a believer, and I remember this too, our group that we were involved with on the mainland, you see this all the time. And anyone that's been in the faith game for a while and maybe has gone through a number of churches, or even within a church, will see people coming and going. You'll see these new young believers that are just, this revelation, this epiphany has hit them, and they're just bursting with excitement. I got to tell the whole world. I got to do this and that. And you almost see them sitting there going, I know you do. I know you do. And I don't want to say it's being dismissive, but they know something that you don't at that point in your walk, that people are not going to be interested. A lot of people are not going to be interested in hearing what you have to say. And you'll be insulted. You'll be persecuted, which according to scripture, that's all a good thing. What does Yeshua say? He said, rejoice when that stuff happens. If you're being persecuted for his name's sake, right? Because you're getting a big place at the table in the kingdom, right? They persecuted all of the prophets. You want to talk about a dirty, thankless job? Be a prophet of God. You read through all of those narratives, your Isaiahs, your Jeremiahs, your Ezekiels, your Jonahs, all of these guys, you know, they did not have a good time of it. They were constantly under threat of being killed. People didn't want to hear what they have to say. They were all those things, persecuted. In some cases, they were stoned. They were driven out of town. They were exiled. It is not a good job. And the whole point of that is that all of that can really have an impact on your desire and your energy. You know, I mean, the more disheartened, the more depressed, the more broken things around you feel, and that you feel like you're lost and hopeless in the midst of all of this, the more it weighs on you and the harder it is to lift up that head, you know, to the Creator. But we got to keep trying, right? That's why I've also made the analogy in a few videos of, you know, it says run the race. There's a passage in the Bible to run the race. Said I'm trying to run it, but what I can very much see is me dragging myself by my fingers across that finish line. You know, I hope I'm strong enough to to be able to do that, because I don't see myself, I haven't even broken a sweat. You know, I don't see that going across that finish line. I see myself fighting for every step, you know, and that may not be a bad thing, because another philosophy that I've held is if you're comfortable, you're doing it wrong. I firmly believe that. If you are comfortable, you are doing something wrong. Isaiah was not comfortable. Yeshua was not comfortable. Paul was not comfortable. Peter was not comfortable. Right? Ezekiel was not comfortable. None of these guys. Daniel was not comfortable. I don't think he was very comfortable when he was sitting in that den with the lion, afraid that he was going to eat him at any second. I don't think he was feeling very comfortable at that moment. You know? So that's where I really stick to that. If you're comfortable, something's wrong. You're not doing it right, right? Reevaluate where you're at. And when you do that, when you're that uncomfortable, when you're under that much stress and pressure, it again drains the life out of you. It can drain the spirit out of you. And having that fellowship and that support network, you know, however you find it, if you have to do it online, but have that network. It is so important. I can't stress that enough, you know, and for this person that I was having the conversation with, kind of bring it back to all of this. You need to learn. So this is my advice to anyone that may be just starting a faith walk, or maybe you've kind of fallen away and you're trying to motivate and rededicate yourself to doing that. I've always said, and I firmly believe, you got to get yourself in the Word. That Word it's blessing, it's life, it is energy, it is all those things. It is the foundation for everything else. If you don't have that foundation of the Word in your heart and in your life, you're probably going to fail. You know, so that one is so critically important. But maybe number 2 to that, almost as important, is to have that support network, be it your local church, be it online community, your friends and family. I know in a lot of cases it can't be friends and family because they're not following that same walk that you are. How many people I know in our various congregations that we've been involved with, that particularly with the Hebrew roots and the Messianic thing, because I mean, it's kind of joke around about it in a way, but it really is the truth. It's this idea that we're shunned by the Jews because we observe the New Testament. We're shunned by Christians because we observe the Old Testament. And you get it coming and going. You're getting hit by the door both ways. And it can be tough, so to have those like-minded believers, and very often friends and family are not it. They're what did Yeshua say, right? He said a prophet is never accepted in his own hometown, as he himself proved that was the case, right? That hometown, it could be symbolic and it could literally be a hometown, but it can also, kind of metaphorically refer to your home, your house, your closest friends and family may be the ones that shun you the most because they just think you're crazy or whatever the case is, so that can't always be a source for you. We're really blessed that I was the one that may have started this walk. With the help of Ray, I have to say. I mean, that really was the capstone that got me going. But the fact that I had a wife that was willing to take that journey with me, and we have stuck it out through all of that. And I'll tell you, there were times when our marriage almost didn't make it before we became believers. But since we have dedicated ourselves to that and put ourselves in this word every night before we go to bed, it has strengthened our marriage in ways I don't think we could have ever imagined when we first got married, because we were not believers when we got married. But on that note, I mean, I don't want to meander on too long about this stuff, but it really is. I'll bring it home and just reiterate that one point, though, that fellowship and the support that you get from that fellowship and community is essential to a good, healthy spirit walk. And I'll tell you, because aside from everything else, those are the group of people that can hold your feet to the fire when you start drifting away, when those cares of the world start taking over. They're the ones that can go, attention over here, focus, right? They can help you to do that. And so that's one of the reasons why that's so important. And it's all built on the premise of this word. So with that being said, I will conclude there, and hopefully this has helped someone. If you know anyone like that, I mean, that's the thing. Yes, they have to recognize they're a sinner. They need to recognize that they need that salvation from Yeshua. But once that's the door opening. Once that door opens, the only way you're going to be able to walk through that door and continue that walk is with this and with that fellowship and community. With that being said, if you did enjoy the video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to share it with others. That's the whole point of doing these videos. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. Hit the notification bell or the little Rumble punch if you're on Rumble. So we are going to be doing more with Rumble. This has been, one of the issues has been Ray, just been the situation that he's been in. Doesn't always have the best access to internet, and it's hard for him to get even his basic videos up on one channel, much less having to upload across multiple platforms. So as that situation changes and evolves and improves, hopefully, we'll be able to do more. I have been trying to upload there on a more consistent basis, and we are going to be utilizing that platform more often. But anyways, that's going down a rabbit hole. I do thank you all for watching the video. I do pray blessings to you in the name of Yeshua, our Messiah. And until the next video, I do say shalom and bye for now.
You've been watching Truth and Testimony, the broadcast. If you have a comment, please leave it on the bottom of this video or email us at truthandtestimonyemail@gmail.com. Again, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Truth and Testimony, the broadcast, is not affiliated with Truth and Testimony magazine.